Good news, everyone. The stream works. So, sorry, not sure what happened there. Camera just decided to not work. I was trying everything. To get the camera to work today. Not sure what was going on. Maybe I need to dig into the computer and figure out what's going on, but hey, I'm glad we're on. And luckily, the show will not be super long. Tom's not with me tonight. Tom had quite a busy day at his day job. And I'll be going on solo, so hopefully I can knock a lot of these out super quick. There's not a lot of movie news. There are two big trailers, Boba Fett and Morbius. So we will talk about those. I'll play those so we can talk about them. Give you my impressions live. I have not watched either of them. I guess technically I've seen part of Morbius, but I didn't really get to watch it. So you get to see my reactions to that live. And then you may have seen the title for tonight's show. Will Oppenheimer give Nolan a refresh? As much as I enjoy Tennet, it is probably the most Nolan-esque movie, and not necessarily in a good way. And he's been on kind of a decline. It's something I don't think Nolan fans really want to admit. There's some issues, things he needs to address. Like there's some third act issues. How he writes women, not great in his movies. Hasn't improved. And Tennet is probably the best example of just style and characters moving about to do the thing because the movie dictates it. So I'm hoping, because Oppenheimer is a biopic, and I'll explain this more when we get to that. That'll be the last topic of the night. I'm hoping when we get to that point, I can convince you that hopefully with Oppenheimer being a biopic and being based off a book, maybe it'll give Nolan a chance to kind of refresh his brain, bring in some new concepts, because I still think he's an amazing filmmaker, and probably has produced some of the best blockbusters we've ever had, particularly in the last decade and a half. But the stuff is getting stale. The stuff is getting old. I know, again, Nolan fans, you can get mad at me. I'm a Nolan fan, but I can make legit criticisms. I'm very open to that. I recognize problems. So yeah, it's not fun. It's not fun to talk about. I get it. It's like we'd rather be like, oh, he's doing amazing. It's like, but we got to be honest. There's some things he can do better. Half my friends look at me crazy when I say I enjoyed Tenet. They're like, I didn't understand half that movie. Yeah, I get it. But hey, you're listening to the Commander Ship Show or watching the Commander Ship Show on Nerd Union. If you're on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, I can see you. Hello. Well, not actually see you, but hey, if you shoot me a comment on whatever service you're watching on, or have questions throughout the night, I'll answer them, and we'll talk about them. All right, so on this show, we'd like to do some quick hits of movie news. That usually means starting off with the box office. So yesterday on State of the Nerd Union, we talked about the box office for... I'm trying to think. What did we talk about? Venom, Let There Be Carnage 2, but we got some updated numbers for Dune and No Time to Die, the new James Bond flick. So real quick, Dune is sitting at 292 million worldwide, which is pretty good for a movie that's almost 3 hours long. Did start a little earlier in the month worldwide, but it's just now had its North American release over the last 2 weekends. So it's doing really solid. We'll see what that drop-off is after Eternals releases this week, although also at the end of the show, we'll talk about Eternals box office, and you can bet that will be the topic for our next show next week, is just getting my impressions on that and just what happened. I have tried, because I didn't get an early screening, I've kind of stayed out of the online fray that's happened on it, because it's ugly. It's not good. I'm sorry, the online fray, not the movie. I don't know if the movie's good or bad yet. I really have to be careful with what I read. I try not to get biased, but it's hard to avoid the torrent of comments happening online and reviews. Dune's off to a continued great start for the past 2 weeks. Also, Let's see. So, Venom, Let There Be Carnage, we already talked about this on Monday night, but it has surpassed Black Widow. Black Widow made $181 million for its run. Venom so far has made $184 domestically, so that's just his domestic box office. It's doing really well worldwide. We'll get to the movie that's doing even better worldwide here in just a second. But Venom eked out by $3 million. Although, to be fair, Black Widow probably would have beat Shang-Chi and Venom 2. Honestly, probably would just would have mollywopped everyone had it not been on Disney Plus. So that's kind of always going to put that caveat, or kind of put that note with it, is that sure, and that's not to knock Venom 2's achievement. Great achievement in a year of a pandemic. Great job. But Black Widow probably lost out on at least $100 million. You know, that was what led to a lot of that lawsuit between Scarlett and Disney. So, all right, and Bond has just gone over 600 million worldwide. So, and speaking of 3-hour movies, I'm really surprised it's done this well for how long it is. And if you're like, this is not about the popularity of a longer movie. It's about the actual ability to get butts in seats when you're taking up more screen time, or taking up more opportunities, more screenings that could be happening, or how many like theaters can you dedicate, how many like individual rooms can you dedicate to it. That's what happens when you have almost 3 hour long movie. Again, it's not exactly 3 hours, so that's something to be aware of. Skip it back. All right, so that's all for our box office news from the weekend. We will get you the Eternals box office, which has already had some premieres. It's had some premieres the last couple weeks. It has not had its full release yet, but really curious to see what the box office is on that, and I finally get into it. So we'll let you all know that next week. Next up, staying in his pops, or making his pop proud, Steve Irwin, Robert Irwin, decided to go as a Loki variant for Halloween, and naturally had access to an alligator. Oh gosh, yeah, that totally tracks. This. I mean, I'm sure there's some costumes that won Halloween. This probably wins all of it. So. Good luck, everyone else. But this was just fantastic. So, good on you, Steve. I like it. Looks really good. Hope you continue to be that creative every Halloween. And if you should follow him on social media. He's pretty great. He's got some great. He's got a really good eye for the camera. What he puts out on social media. It's really great. Dun, 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 dun. All right, so it's time to move into castings and announcements. So this is our weekly roundup of new hires on the production sets, new projects getting green-lighted, and start off a photo of Buster. Well, he's not Buster in this. No, that is Buster. Forgot about the hand. That's Tony Hale. Hocus Pocus 2 has secretly been adding some more names to it. So we got Tony Hale, who's been on Veep, and most famously here in Arrested Development. Hannah Wadington, who you've probably known most famously as Rebecca on Ted Lasso. And Sam Richardson, who I've got here in the background from his press tour on the Tomorrow War, although most recently you've also seen him playing a wealthy billionaire in season 2 of Ted Lasso. So all three of these actors have been added to the Hocus Pocus 2, which brings back all the original Sanderson sisters. And there's a smorgasbord of kids that got announced as well. I will rattle off the names. I didn't grab photos just because there's so many of them, and really some of them are so young and new that the photo's not going to help you anyway. I don't mean that to be a slight to them. I just don't think these names are going to give you any tips to who they are. But Juju Brenner, Melissa Escobedo, Leela Buckingham, and Whitney Peak joined the cast. Now, some of them have been in a variety of Nickelodeon, CW shows, different things like that. They're very young, so it sounds like this is going to be the kid crew that runs around and probably accidentally brings the Sanderson sisters back to life. If I had to spitball, how did the witches come back in Hocus Pocus 2? And it's like, they read some incantation that they shouldn't have, and that's how it happens. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, but I like these 3 added to it with Bette Miller and with Kathy and Sarah Jessica Parker. Yeah, I think it could be a really fun crew. Will it be any good? I don't know. It's too early to say anything on that. We'll see. But hey, I like Hocus Pocus 1. It's a nice, fun Halloween movie. It's a really solid Halloween movie. That's not a gory Halloween movie. That's a really just kind of really good kids movie. It's got a little bit of spook fright, but just nothing's really truly scary. It's a really solid story. So if they can do well for sequel, all for it. Next up, Michael B. Jordan's Val Zod has landed 2 new writers, and they've. I'm not really a big fan of what's going on over the House of Transformers, aside from Bumblebee. But the new Transformer, and you're like, why is he talking about Transformers? Mainly because it's gotten a lot better, and 2, the writers come from that team. There's a new Transformers movie called Rise of the Beasts. Our writers, Darnell Madier and Josh Peters, are the writers for Transformers. They're also going to be coming over to Michael B. Jordan's Val Zod Superman movie. Or sorry, not Superman movie, Superman series on HBO Max. So they've also been recently on American Snow and the NOLA. So they've got some experience under the belt. Really solid writers. Again, I don't know what's going to happen with them in Transformers, but the reason I mentioned Bumblebee is Bumblebee's a really good movie. I will say a lot about how bad the other Transformers movies are. Bumblebee is really solid. Bumblebee just got back to basics. A kid in their car, a girl on the horse, kid in the dog, your dog. Like, it just kind of got back to that coming of age, and a mysterious alien Iron Giant kind of thing pops down, and what do you do about it? So I really love that it got back to that. Transformers Rise of the Beasts, will it be exactly like that? No, but there's some things in it that look like it's getting back to basics, getting back to those Generation 1 Transformers designs. So that might be in the right direction. So I haven't seen American Snow and the NOLA. I'm just going off of my friends' recommendations, but the writer set for that seems really good. So if they're coming over to do a Superman movie, do a Superman series on HBO Max, could be really good. Whether we're going to get another Superman movie anytime soon, I don't know. But between Superman and Lois and Val Zod on HBO Max, I think we're going to be at least pretty well covered for a while. And honestly, I wouldn't mind these 2 meeting up in another, like in a DC movie, whether it be Tyler Hoechling's Superman or whoever ends up playing Val Zod. Now, no word yet if Michael B. Jordan's actually going to play Val Zod. It's just been his production company that's involved. Same group that's getting Static Shock made, yeah. But we shall see. So, fingers crossed on that. Why do we have a picture of Harry Styles on this? Why he's on here? Well, potential spoilers for Eternals. I know it's coming out this week, but if you don't want to know a potential spoiler for Eternals, I'm not going to describe what the end credit scene is, but this does lead to a casting that's happened. So I'll at least just say that. All right, 3, 2, 1, here we go. So what's confirmed is that Harry Styles is playing Eros or Star Fox. Not Star Fox as in the Star Fox 64, nothing like that. But usually Eros has been Thanos' brother in the MCU. And it's been quite the MCU horn dog. So having Harry Styles, I'm not calling Harry Styles a horn dog, but someone that could appeal to a lot of people in a variety of audiences, Harry Styles probably fits that bill, especially where he's at career-wise after, I forget what the name of the group was he was in before. Where he's at now. Be pretty solid spot for him. So apparently made his MCU debut in the Eternals end credit scene, and then we'll see him moving forward in future projects. So yeah, I'll be curious to see how he does. Yeah, so there's a picture of old Eros, Star Fox. No word if Styles is going to curl his hair like that, though. All right, so for those worried about spoilers, you can come on back, or catch the show afterwards. This is being recorded, so if you got to pop out, again, I know it's a live show, but if you got to pop out, this will be available for you to go back and listen to or watch later on. All right, Sophia Boutella, I love this actress. I just really want her to be in more roles where she's not in paint. If you watch the recent Mummy, again, that movie's not great. I still think she does a really solid job in that. But again, she's in the whole Mummy facade and stuff like that. Played Jayla. We just talked about this. We covered Star Trek Beyond last week. She played Jayla in Star Trek Beyond. She's really good in that too, but you probably didn't notice because it's got a bunch of face paint and different things on. So she's going to be in an upcoming Zack Snyder movie called Rebel Moon, and she'll be playing... Get my notes back up. So, going to be living in a colony in space, out in the galaxy, but they're being attacked by a tyrant. I'm not going to even say that name. That's some sci-fi gibberish. But she's dispatched to seek out warriors from neighboring planets to help them take a stand against this tyrant. So yeah, that could be really cool. Snyder directing a space movie. That's going to be a new one. That's good. Unless there's a Snyder movie in space I forgot about, but that'd be really interesting to see how it does. But I'm really excited for Sophia to take on this role. Hopefully she's not playing an alien wearing green skin or something like that, and she can just really be out and be herself. She's kind of unfortunately fallen into that Zoe Saldana area where they've been in paint so much that, can you name a Zoe Saldana role where they haven't been in paint in a while? Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. So, fantastic actress. Want to see her do more stuff. Hopefully, she can be out in front of the camera and not. And that's not knocking paint. If we pick Doug Jones, for example, has had a fantastic career under prosthetics and different things like that to achieve a role. And that's what he really wants to do. But I just hate seeing some actors that seem like they do a lot, get into some dramatic roles, but are just kind of stuck in these sci-fi face paint roles. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. If that's what she wants to do, it's really cool. But I think she can do more, and I'd love to see her. And Taryn says, not knocking paint, but representation is sparse. I hadn't even said that, but that's a good point too. It's like, we ain't got enough skin folk on screen as it is, and then the rest of us are getting painted up. So, oh man, what is next? Let's see. All right, so this is a nice little romantic story. So Gugu Mbatha-Raw and Edgar Ramirez. Get old Edgar up there. Yeah, they're going to be playing in this new drama based off the book. So William Boyd had a short story called Cork, and it's based on the life of celebrated Portuguese poet Fernando Pessoa. And the film follows Lily, played by Raw, who is forced to confront death of her husband and inherits his cork factory and starts to begin a relationship with one of his co-workers played by Ramirez. So the movie is set back in the 1930s in Lisbon, and it will be directed by Isabel Cossette. The film is called Nobody's Heart. So yeah, that'd be a really nice romantic. I like romantic dramas. Rom-coms, that's a whole different thing. Romantic dramas, though, sign me up. Let's see. The Levees! I love these two. But they're not working on a project together right now. Boo! But they have both landed 2 different projects on 2 different streaming services. So this doesn't preclude them from working together on something else. Now, when I heard the concepts, I was a little... why do we need another cooking show or another travel show? But when I thought about the streaming services, I was like, oh, for HBO and Apple, they don't really have that yet. Netflix has got a slew of them. Hulu's pulled some things from Network TV. Network TV's got a bunch of these reality shows. But Apple TV and HBO Max really don't have them yet. So I'm tracking. It's like, okay, got it. So Michelle says, Kenny wants the drama. Yeah, a romantic drama. One of my favorites, Brooklyn with Sirius Ronan. Fantastic. Love it. An Irish woman stuck between having moving to New York, building a life in Brooklyn, and then having a chance encounter when she goes back to visit family in Ireland. It's just, was it? Or is it Scotland? It might be, could be Scotland. Sorry, it's been a while since I watched it. But beautiful. I love that. So that's great. That's legit. Like, it's not a fake tension. It's not like a tension that's just made up, because oh, thank you, Terrence. So I was right. Ireland. Yeah. Because it's just you have an encounter that goes really well. Plus, we also got to mention, like, her family is kind of pushing that a little bit, because they want to see her possibly marry someone in the family that would possibly lead to her coming back, or kind of continue those familial ties to her homeland. So it's not just, there's some external pressures there. I'm like, so that's great if that's what's going on. But the fake things that happen in rom-coms where people turn into monsters and are just, I can't stand it. Got completely distracted. So let me get back to the levees. Let's see. Michelle says, comedy or drama, if there's romance, I usually find myself yelling at the screen. Could just be me. Yeah, I mean, that can also be... and you know the reason I like romantic dramas also is because I really don't like seeing romance plots just thrown into other spaces or mediums. Or not mediums, but like in a science fiction movie, it's not that you can't have a romance, but does that really enhance what's happening on the screen? And does it make sense to start that right now? Let's say if you're going to make some sprawling epic, do you need to force that in right now? Or do you really care about telling a romantic story if you're just kind of going to use narrative shortcuts and cheats? So I would almost rather know that I'm going into a movie that's about a romance. That way I can digest that, as opposed to be trying to digest something else and a really weak romance plot. Like, just get it out of there. Or if you're going to do it well. I don't know. That's probably the end story of most of these conversations. It's like, if you're going to do the thing, do it well. And I hate to use that as a scapegoat, but honestly, it's the truth. All right. Levis. What was I going to say? All right. So Dan Levy is going to be heading up a new cooking competition series, The Big Brunch, on HBO Max, while old Paul Levy... Just kidding. Eugene Levy is heading up a new travel show for Apple TV Plus called The Reluctant Traveler, where he'll explore different cultures and local hotels and more. So again, those services don't really have these shows, and I could see them being really good at this. Thinking of Eugene Levy traveling to different countries and having a blast, being Eugene Levy, that sounds hilarious. And Dan Levy judging brunch food. I'm assuming, or judging or hosting. So I don't know exactly what his role is going to be in that. Sounded like he's going to be host. I don't think he'd be judging, but I think he could also make that quite hilarious. Skip it to B, and something that will bring the energy down today. Chris Pratt is just apparently trying to do every voice imaginable. So the oddly controversial Pratt was already panned by the internet for taking on the role of beloved Italian but French-voiced video game character Mario. And now he'll be taking on the role of Garfield in the upcoming CGI movie. Honestly, if Bill Murray couldn't save that cat, maybe Pratt will regret this role just like Murray did. I'm referring, of course, to his classic line in Zombieland where, asked if he had any regrets, he said, Garfield. And, hopefully it'll be a better Garfield. But, I mean, I don't really need a good Garfield movie because I don't... Did we need a Garfield movie? Was anyone clamoring for a Garfield movie? I don't know. Apparently we're clamoring for a Mario one, too. I missed the memo on that. It's like we forgot most of these comic book movies are just not great. So... yeah, go ahead, Pratt. Just go right ahead. Oh, we are not ready for that yet. Cool. So, Lewis Black as Garfield. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that is not... ah, there we go. Lewis Black as Garfield. Oh my gosh. That would... Lewis Black. Lewis Black as Garfield? I keep just saying the thing over and over again, but I think that would have been hilarious. All right, so I have a teaser trailer up here for Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett. It's an upcoming spinoff to The Mandalorian. It's coming out the end of December, basically the end of the year. And let's go ahead and get that queued up.
I am not a bounty hunter. I've heard otherwise. I know that you sit on the throne of your former employer. Jabba ruled with fear. I intend to rule with respect.
You were all once captains under Jabba the Hutt.
I'm here to make a proposal that's mutually beneficial. Why speak of conflict when cooperation can make us all rich?
What prevents us all from killing you and taking what we want?
If you had spoken such insolence to Jabba, he'd have fed you to his menagerie.
Please, speak freely.
Oh man. So the Star Wars underworld is just something that doesn't get discussed enough or get explored enough. So Boba kind of creating his own group, or now Alliance, or like I don't guess he'd be considered a Hutt in that way, but just kind of creating his own group there in Tatooine. I'm really excited to see how that plays out. So that looks good. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say. That's a solid teaser. I think that's about. I don't know if that's. Yeah, I really didn't know what Book of Boba Fett was going to be about. So at least that clarifies that he's consolidating power in the criminal underworld, but he's trying to go about it a certain way. Not really painting him out to be a hero as far as I can tell, but maybe not even anti-hero. Just like I guess him and Din's interest in Mandalorian season 2 were just aligned enough to where that worked out. And then here, he just doesn't want to rule in a brutal manner, as best I can tell. So I don't know. We'll see. We have a while. We have a while though. So the year is ticking down. Really, it really is. So yeah, that will be at the end of December. So it'll take us into the new year. Yeah, so really excited. Book of Boba Fett. All right. A little bit about this next one, because there's been a teaser out for Morbius for a while. I have never watched it. And it's just because I don't care about Sony adding more Spider-Man properties and Spider-Man related. Like, I didn't like what they did with Venom. I've been on record saying Venom 2 somehow is worse. I don't know how they found more ways to make it worse. Like, and I get that people like Venom and Eddie together. That is solid. I'm not knocking that relationship inside the movie. That is fun. You're right. That is what, if that's what you're enjoying about that, great. But it's just kind of CGI blob and mess. So when I talk about the things that drive me nuts about Marvel movies and just my overall malaise about Marvel movies, this is what I'm getting at. Is like, yes, the Marvel movies are better made overall, but I'm kind of just puttered out. And now we're back into this time. It feels like we're getting right back to X-Men 3, Daredevil, the Ghost Rider, Fantastic Four, during that time period of comic book movies, as there was, you know, like, because you'd had X2, X-Men 2, and Spider-Man 2 show us that hey, these movies can be really good, and they're starting to lean towards that direction of, like, they're starting to be really good. But immediately afterwards, there's just a bloat of crap that came out. Some of the movies I've referenced, I know The Dark Knight drops in that time period as well, but we almost have to treat it as a unicorn that's just never going to happen again. And everybody keeps trying to compare other things to The Dark Knight. I feel like it's almost helpful to the conversation to just put it out as an outlier. It's like, we're just not getting that anymore. So I say all that to say, I'm just not excited about this. I'll explain. I'm just going to let this one play. And I'll talk about it. I won't talk over. I'll just play it so you can, and I'll give my thoughts afterwards so I can explain why I'm giving more details of why I'm.
Michael, I've known you since you were a child. You've a gift. You always have. If there's an answer to your disease, you'll find it. I should have died years ago. Why am I still here if not to fix this? I have a rare blood disease, and I'm running out of time. This could be my last chance.
You're up to something. What is it?
That's not exactly legal.
I don't want to see you get hurt more than you already have.
This would be a cure.
At what cost?
But at what cost?
Michael, what's happening?
I went from dying. I feel like more alive than ever. Increased strength and speed.
Is he Nightcrawler now? What's going on?
Location. And an overpowering urge to consume blood. How far are we allowed to go? To fix something that's broken.
We got Tyrese and old Matt Smith in there, but
Is worse than the disease.
wait a minute.
So the remedy.
Sorry, the haircut made me think it was Tig Notaro for a second.
Michael Morbius. Got tired of doing the whole good guy thing, huh?
Except that.
Nah. And they're connecting all this stuff. I just replace Leto with Tig. I mean, I'm fine with it. Like when they replaced, I forgot who that asshole's name was in Army of the Dead. Now, granted, unfortunately for Tig, and Tig's great in her performance in that, but the visual of that is like the light that drives my eyes nuts. I'm like, I know it's off. I can look at it and be like, my eyes would have been drawn to it if you hadn't told me there was something wrong with it. But, you know, so unfortunately, it just doesn't look good in the movie. But yeah, can we just we need more Tig. That's secretly why I'm excited about Star Trek Discovery Season 4. I just want more Tig Notaro. Give me more Tig. We're getting back. All those movies I mentioned before, and maybe I'll end up being wrong. This has got all the hallmarks of kind of that blasé, bland, cookie cutter stuff that we've gotten over and over and over again. Another origin story. Couldn't tell you what the problems are going to be on it. He starts off as one of Spider-Man's rogue gallery in the comics. Eventually, kind of becomes sort of an anti-hero. And if you've ever watched the animated Morbius on in the original Spider-Man, or not the original Spider-Man, but the Spider-Man 90s TV show, that's a fairly accurate-ish version of him. But you just drop Tyrese and Matt Smith in this. And then we get the Michael Keaton Vulture drop right there at the end. No idea what he's doing there. But clearly the MCU and Sony properties are connecting more and more. And as you all have probably seen also this week, there's been a lot of Sony and Marvel love this past week as well. As we've gotten Amy Pascal and Kevin Feige and Tom Holland talking about how they were able to repair that relationship and move forward and start telling these stories together. So again, I would like to be wrong in the hope that the MCU can come in here and help provide a higher level of quality and standards to these movies from the Sony-based movies. But as of Venom, Let There Be Carnage, I am not impressed by that. So it's clear that production is happening more with the Spider-Man movies than it is with the other Sony movies. Now that said, Morbius and Venom were already happening by the time that deal got repaired. So it is possible that, with Kraven the Hunter and future Sony movies, that they'll get better as the Marvel and Sony alliance gets better, or like that storytelling apparatus starts to mesh more. If that's still the plan. So again, this just doesn't. I don't care. I don't care. We're gonna move on. I could care. There's nothing about that trailer that made me excited. And it just left me with more questions about what they're going to do. It just looks blah as AF. It looks blah AF. So, again, happy to be wrong. I just would... we shall see. Alright. We got some unfortunate news to follow up on Alec Baldwin's Rust. And, I'm not going to get angry on the camera, but when I say I read something, I get physically upset. It's things like this, especially given what's happened. So I'm going to read going to read this report that the LA Times, which has been doing really good reporting on this. And, so basically what's happened, the Rust production staff made a mockery of the crew's pleas for help on a variety of issues, particularly with their commute. So it's come out that a member of the production staff on the movie Rust had custom t-shirts made that mocked the camera crew's request for accommodation close to the film's set, according to a new report based on the LA Times. So per that report, several unnamed members of the crew were told during the second week of production on the film that they would no longer receive hotel rooms near the production base in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So for a reminder, folks, again, LA Times has reported on this, but it was being shot in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And this would require the crew to travel to and from their homes. Now, if you've hired people that are in the same city, that's not necessarily a big deal. So I said Santa Fe. Most of the people that were hired, though, were from Albuquerque. So since the majority of them were based in Albuquerque, which is about 50 miles away, as the newspaper reported, many members were worried about the already long days on set and now adding in additional 2 hours of drive time, an hour to get to Santa Fe and then an hour back. So again, if you've heard anything we've said on the IATSE strike, how 12 hours would be generous of work time, whereas it could be going up to 16 or more. Then you add in 2 hours of drive time. You're barely getting any sleep, barely any time in your house to eat and rest in your house before you have to go back and do something else. On top of, they were talking about Interstate 25, which is a rural 4-lane highway with a 75 mile per hour speed limit. So driving that in the middle of the night, not that it's a backwoods, but it's still a back interstate, not a popular interstate road. It's legit just something to be worried about. But apparently, It was treated as a joke within the Rest production office, and someone on the production staff, we don't know who, had ordered custom black long sleeve T-shirts with error 404, housing not found, and either a version and or on the same thing or on the back of it, ABQ relating to Albuquerque is an hour away printed on them. And I could not get a set photo that had it, but in that article, again, because I couldn't get access to that article, so I'm kind of going from source to source, but apparently photos have been taken that show that having been on set. So this is not a made up thing. So again, so the unnamed members, that name is being withheld to protect confidentiality, and if I can find a photo, I'll definitely post that. But like we said last week, or it might have been 2 weeks ago now, again, we could argue about whether set security needs to change or be updated, but this isn't the instance to go off of it because they weren't following the rules to begin with. So it's hard for people really shouldn't be making sweeping changes across the landscape for gun safety, at least prop gun safety on the set, when nothing was being followed on the set and safety issues are being flaunted. That is infuriating. On top of a young rising cinematographer star is gone, is dead. Jesus. And then the downplaying that's happening right now, like, no, I hope they get their pants. Like, I don't know if criminal charges are going to happen if they are warranted. That may be another conversation we need to have. But everyone's pants need to be sued. Everyone's pants need to be sued off immediately. Sorry. I said it before that it was going to happen, and I'm really advocating that it happen ASAP. Hutchins' family should just be grilling them every single day. Yeah, Taryn, if you can get a copy, and it might be an online one. I just didn't have access to that site today, so I apologize, folks. But when we post this, we can definitely grab a photo of that. But this is unconscionable. It's unacceptable, and we really need the rest of Hollywood to really come out and stand on this. Like really repeating that this is unacceptable. Like, don't give this a pass, because you can also be given it a pass with your silence. So infuriating. I'm gonna move on to something that's a little lighthearted. So we got some casting updates for Christopher Nolan's new movie. This is the title. This is what we teased for the show. And this will be our last main topic for the night. And I already kind of teased at the beginning that I'm hoping this movie will be a creative reset for Nolan, but let me get an update on what's happening. So Nolan's got a new movie, Oppenheimer. He's cast one of his longtime supporting actors, Cillian Murphy, in the lead role. So he'll be playing Robert Oppenheimer, with Emily Blunt set to play his wife, Catherine. And we got news today that Robert Downey Jr. is going to be playing Louis Strauss. He's a chairman that was working on the AEC, the Atomic Energy Commission, and he initiated the hearings that were questioning Oppenheimer's loyalty to the United States and had his security clearance revoked. Additionally, Matt Damon, he's going to be slated to play Lieutenant General Leslie Groves, and he was the director of the Manhattan Project that developed the atomic bomb. So this is based off of the book by Kai Bird and the late Martin J. Sherwin, called American Prometheus: The Triumph and Tragedy of J. Robert Oppenheimer. So this will be very much more like a biopic for Christopher Nolan, and I'm really hoping that, like I was stating before with Tennet, I enjoyed Tennet. It's the most Nolan movie, but I get it. It's not. If people don't enjoy it, like, I'm not gonna make an argument. It's like, I get it. There's some chunk in there. There's a lot of chunk. There's a lot of chunk in there, and he's going so much for the spectacle and the idea of this time idea of working with entropy that he just loses a lot of people. But I think the thing with Nolan fans is they're thinking that Tenet is an outlier. I would argue, and this is going as far back at least to Dark Knight Rises and Interstellar, and I love both of those movies. I will watch me all the Batman Nolan movies, and I love Dark Knight Rises. I love all of them. But there's problems in the third act of Dark Knight Rises. This is not a surprise. Interstellar, even though I think there's some things that kind of gets lambasted for that aren't fair for it, but there's some problems of the ending. It just doesn't quite land as it needs to. Dunkirk is pretty. I don't really have any picks on Dunkirk. Yeah, maybe the real criticism of Dunkirk is maybe that he plays with that time scale as far as like which one's happening in minutes, days, hours, a little too much, to where it kind of leads to what's going to be the confusing parts in Tenet. So maybe that's where you'll see that. It's just like it's fun to play with narrative and the structure, but you maybe have gone too far. So that might be a fair criticism for Dunkirk, but I felt like it was enough. I felt like you could carry along and understand what's happening there. But there's these successive, I guess, like trailing from the Dark Knight and an Inception, and just really with Dark Knight Rises, where you start to see some more and more consistent, like just something not quite landing with the movies. And then in Tenet, it just is magnified even more. So, and I talked earlier that women in his movies, like if you think about the classic male protagonist that has to have a woman die to launch them forward into it, you can get that. You get that in spades in Nolan movies, in multiple places. So why we have that happen repeatedly? That's a longer conversation, but it's a problem. Something needs to be addressed. And then just narratively, we talked about structural issues with the movies, but narratively, I'm kind of curious, like what's going to be a fresh new idea for Nolan? Is there something he can do that really breaks away from the traditional Nolan structure? So I'm kind of hoping that if he does this movie, and I'm hoping he'll do a really good job of it, and I doubt, and again, because it's a biopic, I think there's certain things that he does in his films that he won't really be able to pull in to this movie, and I have to do some things kind of straight up. I'll be really curious to see how he does that. But I'm hoping maybe this is the reset and refresh that he needs. Because directors can get into ruts. I love Steven Spielberg, but Artificial Intelligence is not a good movie. I like some parts of it. It's not a good movie. He has this early 2000s time period where he's just not quite hitting on all cylinders. You know, it's crazy he can push out something like AI and then come back and do Catch Me If You Can, which I think is fantastic. So no matter how good of a director you are, you can have some just blah, or you're having some issues and you're not examining what the problem is, and you really need to kind of go back to the drawing board, find some ways to reinvent yourself. So as a fan of Nolan, I'm hoping that he'll go back to the drawing board and do some work. Recognize that there were some issues. Assuming he even recognizes there's been some issues in his work and makes the adjustment. Because I would really hate to get into the next one. Maybe we can get into Oppenheimer and his problems, which would really be frustrating, but hopefully not. Michelle says, off topic, but do you have any thoughts on Operation Mincemeat? I am not familiar with Operation Mincemeat. Hold on, let me look at. What? A successful British deception operation in World War II to disguise the Allied invasion of Sicily. What? Oh, is that an upcoming? Oh, who's doing that one? Dun, dun, dun. Oh, so there's a new movie coming out about it. Hey, Michelle, you caught me in a spot of something I did not know. Yeah, I didn't know about that operation. I also didn't know. All right, so who's going to be Colin Firth, Matthew McFadden, Kelly MacDonald, and director John Madden? Oh, okay. That's an interesting change for him, though, because James Madden really hasn't done. Hold on, let me see. Okay, well, no, he's done some. Okay, he's done some action. I was about to say, has he done any? Has he done any action? Should he be doing it? And apparently, he's already completed filming on it. So maybe that's going to be an early 2022 release. Yeah. So I can't pull the trailer up right now, but that sounds interesting. Maybe I can see if I can get that queued up and check that out for next week. Yeah. Apparently, the trailer came out last month, and with filming already completed, I wouldn't be surprised if we see an early 2022 release on that. But yeah, it looks interesting. John Madden's worked with a lot of famous British actors. So I think he'd have no problem getting the dramatic elements out of it. Yeah, but I guess it depends on how much of the war sequences, or if he gets some help there, if the any stunts that need to be done there. But having Colin Firth as your lead, that helps out. That helps out quite a bit. So yeah, I'll pull a trailer up for next week and I'll give it a look. Sounds good. All right, folks, that's all I've got for tonight. This is definitely I guess not shorter show. I went on. I got to monologuing. Missing Major Tom, but he had quite the day, so just could not get on tonight. So, yes, normally the show, we had some technical issues, but normally the show is on at 8 p.m. Central every Tuesday night. It's Commander Ship Show, and you can watch it live here on Facebook live, or if you're over on Twitch and YouTube, you can check us out there as well. And you should be able to, we're working on some podcast issues, but you should be able to start listening to the podcast and previous episodes whatever you like to listen to your podcasts as well. So again, this episode talked about Nolan. I was really excited to kind of get that out there. We'll see. I hope I'm right. Hope that kind of gives him the changes that he needs, along with all the other news that we had out there. It's been a busy 2 weeks in movies, and yeah, I suspect it's going to be a wild finish to the year, because I think there's going to be a lot of things getting announced for starts, like productions getting started next year. We still got to see how the IATSE strike, the Rust things that have come out in that movie have probably not helped finalizing that's for sure. So we got to see that. It's gonna be a wild last 2 months to end the year. Either from announcements, the movies that are coming out, like The Matrix, SpiderMan. I just reviewed Passing. I thought Passing was coming out last week, but it's actually going to be in 2 weeks. Kenneth Branagh's Belfast, I got to review that. So there's a lot of good. We got our big blockbuster movies. Eternals is this week, but then we got some great smaller movies coming out as well. So it's gonna be a really great end of the year. And I haven't even talked about TV in any of that. You got Star Trek Discovery. We've been covering Bebop and Hawkeye, so it's gonna be good. All right, folks, that's Commander Ship. I'm signing off, and I'll see you next Tuesday. Do 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 do.